I stay overnight at the precinct first. Then they take me to jail. I stay there overnight. They bring me to the wrong court, stay over another night. So now it's like 3 days in, and I have no idea what I'm there for. I finally see the lawyer, and he says, "You've been arrested for being in the largest drug bust."
Welcome to Hope Shot Recovery. I'm Sonia, and I'm so glad that you can join me today. Today, I have my friend, Dear Recovery creator, Sober Merchandise. You guys have got to check her out. She's on Facebook. She's on TikTok. She's on Instagram. Adriana, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yes, I'm so excited too. So Adriana is going to tell her story today. So let's just start from the very beginning. Where did it all begin for you?
So I was born in a different country. I was born in Europe. So when I came here, I was about 10 years old. And so from the jump, I felt different, right? I felt very different. I don't know the language. I didn't have friends. I don't know, the only family I had here was my brother and sister, my two parents. So even though my family, like I had nobody. So I felt very alone and very different from a very young age. And when I came here, 10 years old, I guess the one thing that I didn't really need to use or drink was language, right? I didn't really need the language for that. So, and I thought like that's just what people do at my age. I just thought that's what we do. Party, right? We're teenagers. This is just what we do. So it started with just pills, and got into worse things. Eventually, it progresses. But I was just hanging out with a bunch of older people, and they were doing stuff, and then I got into it, right? So eventually I realized that I was sick if I didn't have it. So what did I do? I made sure from that day on that I had it on me 24/7. Not a good idea. So to make sure I wouldn't withdraw, I would always just have it on me. And I was probably 14 years old. From here on out, I just was using all day, every day. It progressed to other things and drinking as well. I got suspended from high school. I remember once I got like a week of out school suspension for being drunk at like I think a football game or a basketball game. And I don't remember the event at all. I just remember the principal was there, my parents were there, and I woke up to a bunch of puke the next morning.
Oh my gosh. So how were your parents during this? I mean, I relate to everything that you're saying, right? Like just thinking this is the way that it's supposed to be. This is just what we do, right? Like we just party and we have fun. It's like a rite of passage. And it's so interesting because I hear that so many times. And that's how I felt about it too. But I just wonder, like, what did your parents think when you got in trouble at school for being drunk? And did they know that you were doing any of these things?
So I was really good at hiding what I did. I think that's also why it went on for so long. Of course, they were upset with that event happening, but I was able to hide it very well. Like I was just thinking, I used to just take liquor from their liquor cabinet and fill it with water, fill it with apple juice, whatever the color was, right? Um, and then I also got brought home by the cops. This is also, I think, high school years. And all I remember is waking up the next day and I had just grass stains on my jeans. So almost like I was crawling home. And that's where my addiction and my alcohol use took me to, was just like blackout drunk every weekend, if not every other 2 days. This is just high school years talking about. And I always had to be the person that outdrank you. So like you were drinking a 6-pack, I had to have a 12-pack. You had a 12 pack, I had an 18 pack, right? So like I was always the one always stealing your liquor, your beer, whatever part we were at. Like I was the one where they literally had to like take, look out for their beer or liquor because they knew at every party that I would take some.
You were drinking and blacking out and going to parties, and everybody knew that they better hide their liquor if you are coming to the party.
Yeah, I mean, like again, I thought that's just what we do. We're teenagers. We're like, this is just what we do. This is normal. This is just how it's supposed to be. Same thing with the pills, eventually progressing to a really bad level. And I thought, well, it's prescribed by a doctor. What's the big deal, right? Just a medication. And that's why I think I'm such a huge advocate for recovery and education and awareness. Because I feel like when I was in school, it was just like, just say no to drugs. And I mean, what is that going to do? That did nothing for me, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
yeah, so like I feel like today, like we need to go in there and show people like this is where addiction will take you. Waking up with grass stains on your jeans and suspended from high school. We need to be real and raw with people about what's really going on. And
Yeah, I totally agree. And I remember, I don't know if they had the DARE program up there, but
yes,
that's what
yep.
was around when I was in high school. And it was like, I don't even remember what it stood for, but it was like, just say no, don't do
Mhm.
drugs. And then they would give you these like booklets about all the different kind of drugs. And all that ever did for me was make me very curious.
Right, exactly. Very curious. What is this about?
Yeah.
Um, Another crazy story. So one day I wake up and my car has gone out of my driveway. I'm like, like what what happened last night? So I called it in that it was stolen. Uh I still to this day don't know if it was stolen or if I just drove it somewhere and
Wow.
left it somewhere. I was very against drinking and driving as much as I used and drank. I was still very against it. So I really think it was stolen. But again, the point is that like I had no idea because my life was just such a mess.
Oh my God. Could you imagine though, like if you had run somebody over and ditched the car and then called the police to tell them it was stolen?
And now remember, oh my God, and incriminating myself.
Yes.
You never know, right? You never know when you're
Mhm.
using or drinking or with the benzos, especially. You just don't remember anything. So, you
Yeah.
never know.
Mhm.
Um, I did the whole receipt thing. I remember you saying on another podcast um, where you would go and pick up the receipts either by
Mhm.
the garbage, from the garbage, wherever, and you would pick out like the most expensive thing on there, and then you would return it and get cash.
Yep.
So the things we did is just,
Yep.
it's insane. It's
Yeah,
insane.
we definitely did some crazy stuff in addiction. So you were drinking really heavily. I mean, that started very, very young and the pills too, right? So did you ever get on any other substances? Because that's what led me into other substances was the drinking and hanging around with the friends that were drinking. It led me to other substances. Was that your case as well?
Yeah, it led me to eventually to heroin. And I was the type
Mhm.
of person that said I would never, ever touch that. Like I didn't even smoke cigarettes. I was the person that was very against it. I come from a very good home, um, very religious background. I was just always so against it. And, once I just took that one pill, it just really progressed. It was like, like I'm numb. I don't need to feel the pain I'm in. And I think that's why I used for so long was to numb the pain.
Yeah.
So around like 14 years old, I would say, I was sexually abused by a friend's father.
Mm.
And I kept that to myself until I got clean and sober this time around, which was like 5.5 years ago.
Wow.
So I lived with that. Um, I got sober at 30. So I lived with that for a good 15, 16 years, like just in my brain. Like it was torture.
Mm.
It was like inside I'm screaming for help, but I just couldn't get it out. Um, he was very manipulative. Like the friend would be like, "Oh, I'll come and drop her off with you," and the family, and he'd be like, "No, you had a long weekend, stay home." Um, they were friends with my family. My family had no idea. I only just told them just, about 5 years ago. And we went to the police, and because it's been so long, the statute of limitations was up. So they couldn't really do anything. Um, and that really eats me alive still to this day, because I almost feel like, why are they protected and I'm the one that's suffering here?
Mhm.
But I had to really dig deep and work on myself and these issues so I could move forward and like move on with my life. I also noticed that I tried to get it clean so many different times on my own, right? Like the Suboxone way, the staying at home for a week, detoxing at home way, every way possible. I tried to do it so many times on my own. And I could just like I would get a few months. I even got like a year and a half at one point. I would always relapse. This time around, where I actually said my like they say secrets keep you sick,
Mhm.
right? So once I finally was able to get that off my chest, like it was a big weight off my shoulders. um and I've been clean since then. So I think like trauma has so much to do with the disease of addiction, and therapy is so vital for people like us.
Mhm.
I remember going actually to the library one day. I took out books on addiction, and I'm like maybe there's something in here that will tell me how to stop using. Like I just can't stop. I
Mhm.
can't. Like I've tried so many times. I keep relapsing. Like they would call me the chronic relapser at meetings. Like I would come back and oh, I don't have them here. I would come back and one day back, one day back. But I was just looking because the other day I made a video and I had all these key tags: yellow,
Wow.
green, blue, white, all the colors. And there's literally like a handful of them. And I was like, wow, like I went in and out so many times. But
Mhm.
then again, like I was like, if I didn't go back, right? If I didn't try again, then maybe I wouldn't have been here.
Right. And that just makes me think like that takes so much courage. And I'm so proud of you that you did keep coming back. And I'm even more grateful that you shared that because there's a lot of people that don't get it on the first try. I mean, sometimes it takes many, many, many attempts to get clean, but you kept coming back and you kept getting honest because that's a really big piece of it too. Like you didn't just keep coming back and not tell anybody, like you kept coming back and raising your hand and saying, I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. And I think that says a lot.
Right, right.
Mhm.
Um, so let's see, how did I get sober now? So I got arrested a few times. Uh, and every time I almost felt like, again, I was screaming for help, but I couldn't ask for help. I felt
Mhm.
like, why isn't anybody noticed? Like I'm in pain. Like, why doesn't anybody say anything? Like, do you need help? They can't read my mind. They don't know what's going on, right?
Right.
Um, but I think that's why it's so important to keep sharing, just like you were saying, keep sharing.
Mhm.
And for so long, I felt like I'm not gonna ask for help. Like I'm strong enough, right? I went to school. I did this. I have a job. Right? Like I could do this on my own. I'm strong enough to. I got this. But like I feel like you're so much stronger for asking for help. It takes so
Right.
much courage to actually ask for help.
Mhm.
Um, So, and I went to school as well, like during my whole addiction period, even not my whole addiction period. But I have my bachelor's and my master's. Um,
Wow.
yeah, today, you know, I get to work in this field. It's such
Mhm.
a beautiful thing to be able to give back. And, you know, when I was doing my resume, I was putting like arrested, probation, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I get to be myself and help people, and like,
Mhm.
this is okay. And I'm get to share that with people. And the more experience you have with these things, lived experience, the better
Yes.
it is, because the more people we could reach. That's
Mhm.
why I fully believe in Recover Out Loud
Mhm.
online community. It's so great right now. There's
Yeah.
so many people out there really just sharing their stories, and we need to keep doing that.
Yeah,
Um,
I totally agree. I mean, because people don't know, just like I mean, you did keep coming back and keep coming back, but a lot of people don't know that there is help available, right? Like when you went to the library, you didn't know that there was these resources for recovery. And oftentimes you have to be in the depths of it to find the resources for it, which is why I agree that this is so important that we recover out loud. And just so you guys know, we're going to get into this in a few minutes about the things that Adriana does in her community, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But going back to what made you get sober? So you got arrested for the final time, right?
so for the final time, I got arrested. I don't know what I was being arrested for, so they take me to jail, and I stay there overnight. They take me to, I know I stay overnight at the precinct first. Then they take me to jail. I stay there overnight. They bring me to the wrong court, stay over another night. So now
Oh,
it's like 3 days in, and I have no idea what I'm there for. I finally see the lawyer, and he says, "You've been arrested for being in the largest drug bust in the county."
my God, that must have been so scary.
Oh, yeah. So I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, and I think I just had like 2 days sober. I wanted to get on the methadone program. And I'm like, I'm really trying to do the right thing. Like, what is this even about? They came in plain clothes, and you know, eventually they told me I was just in the wrong crowd, pretty much, you know, picking up from people that I didn't need to be, you know, picking up from. Um, but eventually it led me to get sober, and today I say it's a blessing in disguise, because I was almost forced to get clean, and like I needed that. I needed my ass kicked. I needed a wake up call.
Mhm.
And so they mandated me to go to rehab, an IOP program. The first they were giving me an offer of 10 years upstate in prison. I live in New York,
Wow.
so the prison is upstate. So they were
Mhm.
like, we're giving you 10 years, you could take that or you could fight it. And I'm like, and I wasn't like part of that huge, like the kingpins, right? Like I was really like the lower people, like on the low side. And because I was picking up such large quantities, they thought that I was pushing it, but I really wasn't. It was all for me.
Right.
And because such a large quantity, they thought that I was distributing it. So I got charged with like all these felonies. I think there was 5 or 6 of them, conspiracies. And
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, they offered the 10 years or fight it. And I was really pissed off, like at the beginning, like I'm not one of these people you're making me out to be, right? Like in a newspaper, there was like all these guns, they retrieved all this jewelry. Like the top guys were driving Bentleys, Maseratis, and I'm just like, listen, like I have a disease, like I just need help. That's it. Um, but they just weren't listening. They weren't listening. Um, and like today, I know that I can't be pissed off at that. It's not the officer's fault. It's nobody's fault. If I hadn't been in that lifestyle, none of this would have happened, right?
Right.
So I finally said, well, what about felony drug court? I'm like, I don't know. They finally let me do it. First time I go see the judge, what happens? I pee dirty. He
No.
sends me straight to jail my first time I see him. And I was just like, I'm back here again. Like, what am I doing with my life? I have a degree, like I have a good home, I have a good family. Like, what am I doing? Is this where I want my life to be? So it was like a wake-up call, like, this is just not what I want from my life. I know I could be so much more. And so they offered me rehab right after the jail. I went to the rehab, I completed that. I went into like a sober living facility, and then I did 18 months of intensive outpatient. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, and I hated going to it, but like I say today, it really was all for a reason. Like showing up to your groups, like it teaches you to now be on time for work. Like all these little things, like taught me how to be a better person today.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so since then, it was November 20th, 2017, that I've remained sober, and it's just such a beautiful thing. And today I work in the field. Um, and do you
Can
want
you
me to go?
can you talk about what got you into that field? How did that all come about?
Sure. So I was actually at my outpatient, and I always wanted to work in this field, but I thought you just had to be like a therapist, right?
Mhm.
And I saw somewhere in my outpatient said something about like a peer counselor or peer specialist. And I asked, like, what is this about? And they told me what it's about. It's a person with lived experience that could help people, where they're at. You could help them with your lived experience, share where you were at, and guide them through, whatever journey they're on. And I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. And you have to take the course, take the test, the state exam. And today I work as like senior peer or peer supervisor, so there's a few peers under me, and it's so amazing to let clients or see that light up again in their eyes, right? Like we
Yeah.
we literally are able to take them to detox, rehab. So I work for a mobile recovery unit. It's part of an outpatient facility. So it's pretty much like an outpatient on wheels. It's so cool. It's just like a big RV and we go out into the community. So you can't come to us, like we'll come to you. So like
So cool.
breaking the barriers, right?
Mhm.
You don't have
Yes.
insurance, we'll get you insurance.
Mhm.
You can't get to detox, we'll get you there. You can't get to a meeting, we'll come with you. I'll come with you.
Wow.
Even like court, we could go to court with them. Like if they're anxious or they need support, we could go with them. It's just such an amazing thing.
Mhm. That is so amazing. So where do you like find them at? Are they like referrals, or how do they find you?
So we go to different locations every day of the week. Some
Mhm.
of them being like places where we know people are at, like probation, jail, like the park, train stations, bus terminals. But we also get referrals from hospitals. I mean, from all over, parole, probation. Yeah, it's really awesome.
That is so cool because that's where the need is. I mean, there's so many people out there on the streets, homeless. I mean, at probation, I know I did a lot of visits at probation when I was in my addiction. That might really help somebody get off of probation too, now that I think about it. But that is just so, so cool. I love what you do. So let's talk about Dear Recovery for a minute. Tell me, what is Dear Recovery? Where can people find it? What inspired you to start Dear Recovery?
So Dear Recovery, the name came from I wanted to put a positive like spin on recovery, positive aspects of recovery. So sometimes in rehab, they'll make you write a letter to your heroin, to your alcohol,
Yes.
right? To your recovery. So I wanted to make something positive about recovery. And I thought, we're pretty much a walking billboard, right? We're like almost an advertisement ourselves. So
We
I
are.
thought, you know what, how do I spread the message? Let me see if I could spread it through just clothing. And I have different clothes that have different messages on them, like mental health. I stand for recovery. We are all healing. There's a few of them, and I just love that, like, we could go out there and wear these clothes in front of strangers. And like, what inspired me, like what I hope comes out of it is, like, let's say I'm at Target one day, or somebody that purchases the clothes is in Target one day, and your shirt or hoodie says, "I stand for recovery." Let's say somebody's daughter is using it and their mom sees you and she's like, "What is that about?" Right? And now you could share, like, "Yeah, I'm in recovery. This is how I did it. You need help? Yeah, I'll talk to her. Like, I'll guide her. Sure." And that's what I hope that comes out of it. Um,
So beautiful. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So, okay, so tell me maybe okay, no, I have a question for you. I remember. Okay. Okay. So, if there's somebody out there watching this right now and they're in their addiction and they don't know if they can do this, what would you say to them?
I would say give yourself a chance. That's like the one thing that, for some reason, when I said it to myself, it was like a light bulb went off, because I was like, if I go back to using, it's still gonna be there, right? I won't lose anything. If anything, I'll gain something, or my life will stay the same or get worse. Like the drugs, the drinking, it will still be there. But give yourself a chance, an honest chance, not one foot in out the door, like an honest chance, because you deserve it. We all do. And like, that's what I needed to tell myself was, well, let's just try this. I have nothing to lose. Why not? Let's just see. Let's see how it goes. And that's how it started, right? It was just one day, another day, and it all added up.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for telling your story. And just so you guys know, I am going to link her website down below. I'm going to link all her socials down below. You guys have got to go follow her, go get yourself some recovery merchandise so that hopefully we can make that mission come true, right? Somebody might see you and ask you about your recovery, and you might just save your life with it. And I love the advice that you just gave, right? Give yourself a chance, because the dope is always going to be there. The alcohol is always going to be there, but you might find a life on the other side of this that you never even dreamed was possible to have. So again, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you back again soon.
Thank you, Sonia.